Welcome to Grow My Etsy Shop podcast, the drips of knowledge you need to start growing. Hey, welcome. So we are getting into September around this time, so fall is starting to creep in, which is always a great sign for Etsy shops. We've talked about it before. The summer slowdowns are real, and fall is a great time to be an Etsy shop owner. So this is always an exciting time to kind of look at our shop and evaluate and really get it prepared and ready for a good run here. So before I jump all into this, so I have actually received my second review from someone, a negative review, that has claimed that I speak too fast. Now, yes, I do speak fast. The reason I speak fast is that I'm trying to get as much information as I can into the podcast in a short amount of time so that those who are shop owners or doing their stuff or crafting all that stuff are able to get a good gold nugget in a short amount of time. Just a quick reminder, this is a free podcast and it's something that I just do and try to to give as much advice as I can and help growth in there. So if you are one of those people who's feeling like I am really frustrated at Jared, I would ask that you just leave. Just go listen to a different podcast. There's lots of them. A podcast that can talk about, they'll bring their guests on and they'll interview their guests, and there's other people who write blogs and they read them, and my style is to not do that. So just leave. And we'll part as friends. It's no hard feelings. But yes, I know that I talk fast. You don't need to leave me a negative review and tell me that I talk fast. Okay, so now that that's off my chest, we can talk about today's subject. So today, I recently had a conversation with someone, and it was funny because she was kind of wanting to do the I Dream of Genie approach. You know, I Dream of Genie, wiggle the nose, and then make something appear or whatever. She kind of had the I Dream of Genie approach to her Etsy shop, is that she was like, oh, I just want to kind of close my eyes and wiggle my nose and have the success that other people have. So help me out. And it was like, wait. This isn't right. And so success, obviously, is, let's break it into 3 goals. A 6-pack, a big mansion, and let's just use yours, a successful Etsy shop. So these are obviously 3 different goals, but each of them are going to work the exact same way. So let's focus in on the 6-pack, for example. A 6-pack is, they say like 60% or 70% is done in the kitchen. And 20% is like genetics, and then the last 10% is actual sit-ups. So if you focused in on the goal, which is I want a 6-pack, and you obsessed about the goal of I want a 6-pack, you probably aren't going to get a 6-pack because your obsession isn't in the right place. You know, you might be doing sit-ups or being motivated to get the 6-pack, but you're actually not putting your energy in the right spot. Your energy should be in the kitchen, and your obsession should be in the kitchen, and no days off should take place in the kitchen. Now, let's go to the big house one. So there was a recent survey that they asked a bunch of 18-year-old kids graduating high school and asked them, hey, how many of you are going to be millionaires by the time you're 25? And 52% of them confidently said they're going to be millionaires by the age of 25. Now, statistically, if you look at how many self-made millionaires take place between 18 to 25, it is an extremely low percentage. So a majority of this 52% of teenagers are going to be extremely disappointed when they are not millionaires. The problem that they have is that they focused on the fact that they wanted to be a millionaire, right? That was their goal. However, if you don't focus on the activities that actually make you a millionaire, then you won't ever be a millionaire. If you don't focus on or obsess over the activities that give you a 6-pack, you won't be able to get a 6-pack. And if for you guys who want a successful Etsy shop, if you don't obsess and focus over the activities that actually make Etsy shop successful, then you won't have a successful Etsy shop. So now the question becomes, well, what are the things that I should be focusing on? But before I get into that, I want to define what I mean by obsess. Because there's like you've heard these people like Mamba mentality, you gotta grind, you gotta want. And so I want to put it into the easiest phrasing possible. You have to be comfortable doing repetitive, unrewarding work for a long time. That's what that means, because there's two things that happen from this. Number one is when you just jump into something and you start to go, and you work from a repetitive standpoint, you are going to naturally get better at what you're doing. So shooting a basketball, if I had you every day go out and shoot a basketball for an hour, I think I could come back to you in a year and you'd be significantly better shooting a basketball than you were before, right? And that just comes from reps. If I sent you to the gym and had you pick something up and down over and over again for a year, I can come back to you. You're probably going to be significantly stronger than you were when you started a year ago. But it's easy to say that. It's easy to say, well, yeah, lift weights for a year and you'll be strong. But here's what's difficult is that Tuesday when you show up to the gym and you don't feel like you're in the mood and you have to pick that thing up over and over again, how easy it is to quit during that time. Or when you're trying to get the six pack and it's a Friday night and your friends are all going out and you have to stay home and eat your kale salad or whatever because you're working towards your six pack. It's that obsession with the repetitiveness without seeing results. Right? So a lot of those people who are just starting out and trying to get that six pack are not seeing the results yet. A lot of the people who are going to the gym aren't seeing the results yet. The person who's trying to make the basketball and have a perfect three-pointer is not seeing the results. Maybe they're plateau, maybe they're not seeing as fast as they want, but they have to keep going. That's what I mean by the obsession of being repetitive with what you're doing. That obsession teaches you to not only how to be great at something so that you're good at it, but it also teaches you a skill set, which is how to become successful in something, the work ethic that's involved in being successful in it. Now, it also does this for you. Well, before I say that, let me say this. When you are experiencing something, you are going to fail. Like you're going to miss basketball shots. You're going to, if you're doing business stuff, you're going to make money mistakes and fall short in something and yada, yada, yada. It's like it is supposed to happen because when you experience something, you're supposed to fail. And when you fail, you're supposed to learn. And when you learn, what you learn is how to be successful. So even if you just hit it out of the park, you just did something, it worked, you may have found success, but that success doesn't tend to stay because you didn't learn, you just got lucky. And there's a difference between lucky success and learned success. So it's the actual trait of doing something over and over and over again and learning how to do that actually makes and brings success into your life in kind of a scalable, long-term way. You want to fail so that you can truly gain the nugget of the learning how to be successful. Okay? So that should give you some little motivation. Now, there's another thing that takes place in this that's important to note, that when you learn this trait, to be able to do something repetitively without seeing results, you are going to outperform other people, a lot of other people, because we live in a world of instant. People want instant things. They want to be able to instantly brag about something. They want to instantly have something happen. I want to turn on my Netflix and instantly have a movie. That's why Blockbuster went out, because we love things that are instant. Yeah, we want it now. And so if our mindset, which so many people have, is we do something and it didn't give me instant results, they quit, they fall. And so now what happens is when you have that technique, you're actually able to get into rare air because so many people are quitting and leaving behind, and you're able to push yourself. Now, one of the last things I want to mention here is that this actually helps you when you focus in on the objection of, or the obsession of how to get to your goal, or the activity to get to your goal, instead of the goal. It helps you put the goal on a scale to see if it's worth it. So currently, Jared Robinson does not have a six-pack. If you said to me, Jared, do you want a six-pack? I would say, sure. You got one? I'll take it. Slap it on. But if you said to me, Jared, do you want to do the work for a six-pack? Oh, heck no. So actually, the six-pack isn't worth the work to you. No, absolutely not. So are you fine with your current stomach? My answer is yes. I am fine with my current stomach. Do you see what happened? At one point, I wanted a six-pack. By the end of the conversation, I was fine with my current stomach. And this can bring a lot of joy into your own life when you start to look at your Etsy shop and you say, well, what is it that I need to do to be successful in this? And what does that type of success look like? And where do I need to obsess over and do over and over and over again, more than my competitors, more than the typical person? And and I can't quit and I have to push through it, and that's when I can have that type of success. And if you say, yes, I'm willing to do that and I'm all in and committed, well then how much more committed are you, because you've committed to the right thing at this point? Or you can say, you know what, that goal's a little too hefty for me. I actually feel better more in this range because I'm willing to put in more of this type of work. And that gives you more of that real expectations and brings more, I think, long-term fulfillment in your life. So this is a big principle, but I feel like is really great to understand the focus on the activity that's going to make you successful as opposed to this. So now let's jump into kind of making this a little bit more about our Etsy shop. So the $1 million question is, well, what are the things I'm supposed to focus on when it comes to growing a successful Etsy shop? What is the things that I'm supposed to do? So I'm going to take one step back and just talk kind of e-com for a second, or selling things on the internet. These are usually the 3 things that prevent people from being successful. Their circumstances. It's like other people who prevent you from being successful. So like in your guys' case, it'd be like competitors, right? A competitor comes in and steals all your stuff or whatever it may be. Circumstances is like, yeah, Etsy changes their SEO and all of a sudden what was working for you is no longer working for you. Or, someone gets sick in your family is a people preventing. So you actually have to work less hours because you're taking care of someone who gets sick in your family. Those are all things that can prevent you from being successful or from breaking that repetition that you need. And they're really things you can't control. And so at the end of the day, this is my own kind of philosophy. Those are the things you really can't control in that. You got to do what you can, but you can't control those things. Now, the last thing that can prevent you from being successful on Etsy, I feel like I'm talking fast, so don't give me a bad review right now, is yourself. Yourself is the last thing that can really prevent you. And again, a lot of that has to do with breaking that repetition or quitting too early or whatever it may be. So what are the things that you need, right? What are the things that you need to bring to the table to be successful in selling things online? Well, the number one thing, this is what I tell most people, is that you need to bring value. And if you don't bring value, this is where your obsession or your repetitive needs to come into. You need to focus in on how can I either like bring value, solve a problem, take away pain from someone. So if I feel like my product brings value, great. If it doesn't, that's your obsession. How can I get this to bring value? How can I have it solve a pain? And the more you can get into that, the deeper you can go, the more you can add to what you're doing or continue to sell to a customer more products that are going to solve or bring value, the more successful you can be. So number 2, you have to learn how to sell and market. Now, when I say sell, I don't mean necessarily like all the, coding, back end, tricky stuff of the internet marketing stuff. Like, how do I run Facebook? Like, no. What I'm referring to is you just have to have a fundamental understanding on how to sell a product, how to make your product appealing to other people, how to properly communicate that your product is worth somebody's money. Market is meaning that you have to find a way to bring your product in front of other people. And so it doesn't matter how great your product is, if no one sees it, it doesn't do you any good. So market and sell are another technique that if you are weak in, you're going to want to do over and over and over and over again until you get better at what you're doing. And so a lot of that is that obsession over getting social media, for example. And like that's a perfect example of something that you have to put so much effort into and stay the course and do what you can and try to break the code of what you're doing and constantly improve so that month over month, year after year, you're getting better and better at what you do. And whatever the growth rate is, it's growth that's taking place. Okay, and the last thing is that you need to have a product or something that a lot of people are not doing. And so if you go into a really crowded area, doesn't matter how much value you bring, if everyone else is bringing value to that area as well, it can be very difficult. And so you're going to want to try to find niches. So really this breaks down to like have a good product, market it properly, and niche. Those are the 3 things that you need to be successful online. So when you say it that way, it's kind of like, okay, that's not bad. I now want to move into really talking about the number 2, which is the sell and market side of it, because I can't really help you with the value you bring. I mean, we've talked a lot about that in podcasts of like how to self-evaluate yourself, but at the end of the day, it's a self-evaluation that you need to do. The third one, which is like the niching side of it, that is your own homework to figure out competition and all that kind of stuff. But that second one, sell and market, we can talk about that all day. So let's find out what we can obsess over, or what we need to put repetition into to get success in that. So the first thing we need to identify is, where can I, like, for example, how can I find customers? So where can I find customers that can buy my stuff? So let's do that right now. There's 5. I'm doing this off the top of my head, so hopefully I remember the 5. But there's 5 ways that you can reach customers online. The number 1 is, it's going to come to me. Oh, it's something that doesn't affect you. It's cold calling. So sending out emails. This is like, this is, if you're an Etsy shop who's doing cold calling, you're really wasting your time. But there's third parties that do it. You can have a team of people who do it and all that kind of stuff. But essentially, it's sending out emails and letting people know about your product and doing cold calling techniques. Again, probably not something you have to worry about. So let's cross that off the list. We're now down to 4 ways that you can market and sell your product. Number 2 is content. Now, what is content? Content is giving value to someone else in exchange for their time. That's what that is. So, i.e., this podcast. You are listening to this podcast. You are giving me your time. In exchange, I'm giving you content. This is a marketing principle of gaining people. So you can, in the way that you do things, focus in and obsess about content and make that a part of a repetitive process that's in your life, doing more reps than other people so that you can, quote unquote, get stronger than other people. And that's how you can beat out your competitors. So keep in mind, you don't need to watch someone who's got 9 billion followers and be like, oh, how can I be more like Kim Kardashian and post like her? I don't know if Kim Kardashian's even relevant anymore, but instead you want to look at your niche, your target audience, and be like, how can I be the best in this, and how many reps do I need to do to be stronger than anyone else in this industry? So that's the way you kind of want to look at that. Okay, so that is content. I think we're all capable of content and getting content out there and having that be a tool for us to bring people into our world. The next one is paid ads. So I'm a growth marketer, and that's my full-time job, and I oversee on my team, I'm over the paid portion of it. So people who run paid advertising, I'm the guy that goes into their accounts and looks at all the crap that they're doing and how much money they're spending and what's the ROI of all that stuff. That's my job. And I can tell you, it's a very successful way to make money when done properly. And so this is something that, if it's not on your radar, could and should be on your radar. Now, of course, you don't want to invest in paid marketing until you have a product that can sell organically. So keep that in your back pocket. But that's a great way to be able to scale. What's so awesome about that is you can only make so much content in a day, but you can, with paid marketing, you just put money behind it. You can go. And then, of course, you have Pinterest and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. Like, you can really branch out and find a lot of people that way. Okay, number 4 is what you currently do, which is affiliate partnerships. So currently, I would say, like, this is, and I hope this is what you're seeing as I'm seeing this, is like, okay, you sell an online product. Bingo. Where do you sell it? What of all these 5 principles I'm talking about, what do you actually do? And I would say a majority of you only do a portion of number 4 here, which is affiliate marketing. You've connected with Etsy, and Etsy brings you customers, right? And that is such a small arm compared to the online presence that you can have. I'm partnership with Etsy, and Etsy helps bring me sales. And so, when I get a sale, Etsy takes a portion of my money. That's your affiliate partnership that you have with Etsy. Now, just on that vein, you can have partnerships on Instagram. You can have partnerships of people who have followings on podcasts, on anything that you feel like, hey, this person's talking to my target audience. I want to be involved in this. Let me see if I can connect and make this work, and have that be part of. Keep in mind, if you make 100 orders, how much fees is Etsy taking from you? Probably a good amount of money. What if you were able to say to someone else, hey, if you get 20 sales from me, I can pay you this much money for this. Like, you can make stuff work. I'm not saying it should be dollar for dollar, more or less. Etsy does when you look at it that way, Etsy doesn't take a whole lot from you, but you can have a long-term partnership. For example, just a podcast like myself, this would be an awesome example. If an accountant said to me, hey, Jared, I don't know if I would, because I don't really do much of this, but I would listen to the pitch. But if an accountant said, hey, I do accounting for Etsy shops, and a lot of my clients are Etsy shops, I'm really good at it, I help them save them a lot of money, I want to advertise on your podcast because you do all Etsy people, and I'll give you a portion of the sales that when I get a client, and if they stay with me for 10 years, for the next 10 years, you get paid. Well, that's an intriguing offer for me. You know what I mean? Because, yeah, I have Etsy people are listening, and I could give them value by giving them an accountant that's going to be good for them. And then in exchange, I can make money on top of that. Like, that's a win-win-win. And so you can do stuff like that as well for what you're doing. So you watch next episode. This episode brought to you by Etsy Accounting. And then the fifth thing is customer referral or customer retention. So meaning customers come back and buy from you, or customers tell their friends about you. And so I tend to hit a lot on this podcast the number 5, which is customer retention, customer coming back, because I know a lot of you are on Etsy. And so that's like, well, if we're getting people buying from you, we might as well make that work. But so much of this is outside of this. Okay, so that was really fast. And I know, I think that girl's name was Bren who left me that. Hey, Bren, if you're listening, that was just for you, baby. But what I want you to have, or to walk away with this, is to say, yes, I think everyone on this podcast has the same goal, which is I want to grow my Etsy shop. Great. Let's focus in on the activities that you need to do to grow your Etsy shop. And a lot of those activities is going to be kind of fall under, remember, the value you bring, sell and market, and how saturated the market is. A lot of you are probably need to focus in on the sell and market side and become great at that. And how do we become great? Through repetition, through failure, through trying, through obsessing over these traits that are going to get us there. And what are those traits? Cold calling, content, paid marketing. Oh my gosh, I was going to be so impressed with myself. I just hammered those all out. What was 4? Oh, affiliate and partnerships, and customer retention, and customer word of mouth traffic. So if you can then become obsessed over those things. Now, I'm pretty sure mine is cold calling, but 2 through 5, I probably have podcast episodes that are specifically about those. That can be really helpful. I know I've got one on 5. I know I've got one on 4. I don't think I've ever done a paid marketing one. Though it's like the thing I know most about, which is funny. And then, of course, content. We've talked a lot about that as well. So there's a lot of resources in there for you to jump through. But find your obsession, stick to it, don't quit, push through it, and you'll find that just in general, in life, you'll find success. All right, guys, until next week.